On the heels of a deadly domestic dispute in Durant, 2 Oklahoma laws are gaining strength in the House. What they aim to do to abusers.
And coronavirus concerns amping up as more cases are discovered in the U.S. The popular arts and technology festival that decided to cancel because of it.
And new plans for people who don't have a place to live in Sherman. The plan put into place right now and what they hope to do in the future. News 12 at 5 starts now.
Live from 12 Studios, this is News 12 at 5.
We are here today to announce the first confirmed positive case of COVID-19 in the state of Oklahoma.
Welcome to News 12 at 5. I'm Jen Phillips.
And I'm Dan Thomas. Just an hour ago, as you heard there, Governor Kevin Stitt announced the first case of coronavirus in Oklahoma. Officials say the patient is a Tulsa County man in his 50s who recently returned from Italy. They say the man is in quarantine and his family is being closely monitored. There's no evidence of it spreading and the risk to the general public is low.
Well, President Trump signed an emergency $8.3 billion spending bill to respond to the coronavirus outbreak here in the United States. There are now about 260 cases in 24 states.
The death toll ranges as high as 14 people now. Nancy Chen has the latest on the race to respond.
The Grand Princess was told to keep its distance from the California shore while passengers await the results of coronavirus testing. For now, they're confined to their cabins with several dozen people reporting symptoms. President Trump says he's keeping an eye on the situation.
It's close to 5,000 people, so it's a big ship. We're doing testing on those people.
In neighboring Washington state, family members are demanding answers from the nursing home outside Seattle, which has been at the center of the state's outbreak.
I think somebody somewhere decided that this population of people wasn't worth wasting resources on.
County officials say the facility is in the process of testing all residents and giving them appropriate care.
Know this, these families are top of mind. These residents are top of mind.
Here in New York, thousands of people are under precautionary quarantine. Schools concerned about exposure closed temporarily to sanitize their campuses.
Governor Andrew Cuomo told New Yorkers to brace for more.
The more you test, the more positives you will find.
And on Wall Street, the virus continues to weigh on the stock market, where investors are worried about damage to the global economy. The Dow has slumped thousands of points since its record high last month. Nancy Chen, CBS News, New York.
Well, a man is dead after a high-speed motorcycle crash while running from police this morning. It happened around 10 a.m. on Highway 289 in Gunner. Police say the man was already fleeing from South Main Police when Gunner PD clocked him at 140 miles per hour. The pursuit came to an end when the motorcyclist crashed into a semi that was turning into the Exxon in Gunter. He died at the scene. Gunner police are still investigating.
Well, 2 bills in Oklahoma legislature are geared to strengthen punishment for domestic violence abusers. The 2 bills, authored by Dustin Roberts of Durant, would affect bonds and sentencing. House Bills 1931 and 1299 would make anyone arrested for violating a protective order or domestic abuse ineligible for a personal recognizance bond, and anyone convicted of any kind of assault would be required to serve a minimum of 85% of the sentence they get. Kimberly Mullins, whose sister Vivian Pierce and mother Rebecca Pierce were murdered by Vivian's boyfriend in Calera in 2009, says these bills are a step in the right direction, but she would like to see even stronger action to prevent more domestic violence cases from happening.
It can be tracked and maybe could point to if he's more likely to murder their spouse.
Well, tonight at 6, court documents will reveal more insight into the most recent domestic slaying, the double murder in Durant on Monday.
A man was taken into custody for trying to steal a gun after multiple employees tackled him to the ground and pinned him while police got there. Sherman police say employees of the Best Pawn Superstore on 6400 Texoma Parkway called 911 after they caught a man trying to steal a gun from the shop. Police say when they arrived on the scene, they found the suspect already detained, pinned to the ground by multiple employees. Nobody was hurt, and the suspect was taken into police custody.
Well, an Oklahoma man who ran unsuccessfully for governor in 2018 has been found guilty of assault and battery for shooting a process server trying to give him legal documents. Jonathan Barnett had argued he shot the man who came to his Tulsa home in July in self-defense. Jurors recommended Barnett be sentenced to 32 years in prison and fined $10,000. A judge will formally sentence Barnett in April. Let's get a check of the weather now. What a lovely day. It is just a gorgeous Friday out there, but Steve says there's actually a price to pay for that beauty tonight.
Yeah, that's right. Hard to be cooped up inside right now. Steve, what are we looking at overnight?
Okay, let's check it out. First of all, we're looking at the temperatures currently, and it has been really a wonderful day to be out and about. We're in the 60s. The wind is not too strong. We've had a couple of gusts of 20 miles per hour, but for most of the day, it's been running about 10 miles per hour. Now, tonight, we're starting to lose the wind altogether. Antlers down to 2 miles per hour, 5 in Sherman and Denison. And if you watch the airflow, it's going like this, a bubble of high pressure nearly overhead. So we're looking at nearly calm winds overnight. Now, here's the key to the overnight forecast. Look how dry the air is. Static electricity and hand lotion alert tonight. This will allow for rapid cooling after sunset. So going into the evening, falling through the 40s, you'll need a jacket. You're headed out past 7 o'clock. And on the morning hours of your Saturday, after nearly calm winds to start things off, could be some frost, gusty south winds, and warmer temperatures for the weekend. Now, when is that rain to show up we talked about yesterday? Update on the timing when I come back.
All right, thanks, Steve. Well, President Donald Trump visited tornado-ravaged Tennessee today, taking on the role of consoler-in-chief and promising to help rebuild communities.
The tornadoes left a more than 50-mile trail of destruction, killed at least 25 people. Kris has the latest from Nashville.
President Trump walked through a devastated neighborhood in Cookeville, Tennessee, alongside the state's governor and local leaders. It was during the early morning hours on Tuesday when a fast-moving storm spawned at least 2 deadly tornadoes, one with winds up to 175 miles an hour.
God be with them, and we're going to be with them. We're going to be with them all the way.
The president also toured a donation site and met with survivors, shaking hands and taking photos with babies. He promised federal disaster funds would start flowing soon and the state could have as much as it needs.
And your presence here reminds us that people all across the country care about what's happening here, so we're grateful.
No, the boss himself.
Dane and Carson Copeland watched the president's helicopter procession fly over their neighborhood.
We need his help. We need the government help. I mean, you can see the homes are destroyed. When it happened, it was horrible. It was horrible.
Cleanup and recovery here in Nashville is expected to take months, if not years. It is a monumental undertaking, and folks in some of the hardest hit areas are worried they won't be able to afford to rebuild. So they're relying on volunteers to help salvage whatever they can.
We are blessed to have people just coming out of nowhere to help us.
Tennessee is also known as the volunteer state, and Friday the governor said that's who we are and what we do. Kris, CBS News, Nashville, Tennessee.
Well, homeless people in Sherman could soon have a new place to live after being kicked out of 2 camps in recent weeks. Christopher Creed with 903 Mindful says a man donated land on Dripping Springs Road for people to live. The goal is for the camp to serve as a transitional home to get people back on their feet. They're also working with a church and other ministries to build a tiny home community in Whitewright.
As working as separate groups, all we've done is enable them. So we're all coming together and we're going to band together and put all of our resources into doing what we're trying to do.
Creed says people who live in the tiny homes would have to go through a rehabilitation program to eventually be on their own. He hopes the project will be complete by the end of August.
Election coverage sponsored by Douglas Distributing and Propane.
Well, former Vice President Joe Biden is lying low today as his Democratic rival, Senator Bernie Sanders, heads to Michigan to rally supporters ahead of next week's primaries, one of 6 states.
And Biden currently holds leads in the polls in that delegate-rich state. Christina Ruffini is at the White House with a look at what the candidates are up to before the second largest primary day.
As the Democrats gear up for more primaries in half a dozen states next week, Senator Bernie Sanders is criticizing Vice President Joe Biden for his support of trade deals, including NAFTA, in an attempt to garner more support in the big industrial states.
I vigorously oppose these agreements. I helped lead the opposition to these agreements. Joe Biden supported those agreements. And that is a fundamental difference about our approach toward the trade union movement, toward the needs of working people.
Sanders canceled a campaign rally in Mississippi, shifting focus to Michigan and its many available delegates. Sanders won the state back in 2016. The Vermont senator will spend the weekend campaigning throughout the Midwest, while the former vice president will spend his time in Missouri and Mississippi, then head to Michigan on Monday, where he's already won the endorsement of the state's governor. In a war of words on Twitter Thursday over Social Security, Biden told Sanders to focus his attacks on President Trump. Never one to shy away from a challenge, the president joined the fray, taking a jab at Biden.
He's left-wing, and he's got all people that are left-wing, and in many ways he's worse than Bernie.
But moderate Democrats seem to disagree. John Delaney became the 5th former 2020 candidate to endorse Biden this week, saying he's the right person to defeat President Trump. Christina Ruffini, CBS News, the White House.
Well, it's a National Day of Unplugging, meant to help reconnect communities face-to-face. You remember that, when we used to talk face-to-face? Why experts say some devices in our homes could be connecting us to danger.
It really